Hey guys, so for today I got a Saab here, Turbo X. My old one needs a steering intermediate shaft. Steering wheel, like I'll show you, it's like almost 180 or whatever, it gets stuck. So you put it in drive and you start steering. And right there, it's really tough. And then it got loose and then it's like tough. See where it's getting tough trying to, like right there. So I couldn't even get past that one. So there's the intermediate shaft. You see the boot's a little ripped, but yeah, it's pretty locked up. In here by removing this cover here, OBD2 plug with the 2 Torx bits, so that this cover, when I could get it loose, it actually comes out. Because right there is the shaft. Okay, so there's also this light that you could unplug by pulling that off. There's one Torx bit right here, and I believe this side might have one Torx bit somewhere hidden up behind this. I'm not gonna worry about removing that because I can get pretty good access to the bolt right there. And if you wanted to take this out, you'd have to take that Torx bit out, and then this will like slide forward or back and down or up in positions and come out completely from here, because there's a little like plastic on the bottom, I think, that like holds it in, and then I think there's a screw that's still holding that in behind there. So I got a 13 millimeter on a really long extension. I try to lube it up, the bolt in there. You see it right where it's too bright, way in the back. And I'm gonna make sure that I don't take it off. I'm just gonna loosen the bolt and then lower it and then take the bolt out of the top. And then I'm gonna lock the steering wheel in place. And then I'm gonna pop this out. Gonna remove that bolt now. And then I can put the steering wheel lock. You have that thing for like alignments that you put here and it holds the steering wheel from moving. I'm gonna do that, pop it off up here, then go down below and pop it off the bottom, and then put the new one in, and it should keep the steering wheel straight. So what I just did was I took that off. I had to put the pry bar in there and spread it. I spread the spot where the bolt goes through, put the pry bar in like up here. I had it straight so it was pointing this way. Put the pry bar in, spread it, and it fell off. But I was keeping track of which way I was turning the wheel. I kept turning it towards me. So when the wheel spun, it didn't spin around because there's a clock spring. You don't want it to like just do loops. So I try to keep everything in order. So then I turned it back. I put the shaft on, held it on, and turned it so that the wheels are still straight. Now I'll go underneath and loosen it. And the steering rack is going to be harder to turn. So it's probably not going to be as easy to lose position as the wheel spinning around. They're also only go on one way, the intermediate shaft, only they have grooves in it. So once the steering wheel was straight and everything was straight, I actually disconnected the intermediate shaft from the steering column, popped it off. I turned this and I watched as I turned it, because when you turn this wheel a little bit, that shaft might spin a whole lot of times when this only moves a little bit. So I turned it enough so that it pointed toward me, so I could put my pry bar right in there and open it. And once it's loose and I know I can pop it off, I'm gonna turn the wheel straight again, which was only which only made that turn like this. So I only turned the opening to me once. I didn't like spin it around a bunch. So make sure you put the gasket in. I did that on the, while it was all loose. I put the gasket in, and then I just did this side, bolted it in. Now I'm gonna go in the car and finish it up. So I installed the intermediate shaft onto the column. I pushed it on, then I held it and released the steering wheel thing and turned it so that the bolt, I could line it up straight up and down, so when I thread it in, I could tighten it. So I put the lock back on it and then put the bolt in, and then adjusted the shaft to where the bolt goes through, because on the shaft on the steering column there's like a groove where the bolt goes through on the shaft, so it can't slide out. So the bolt like holds it like this. Otherwise, if it was flat, you know, you could just slide through. So instead of just a pinching force holding it on, it also has that groove where the bolt won't be able to pass through if the bolt's in there. So even if the bolt's a little loose, as long as it's in there, you can't pull it down. So 2 safeties, I guess. Here's the old joint that was bad. This way it moves fine, but this direction, I can't really push it. It's like stuck. So this is fine, but the other way is locked right up. That is really hard to move. This is the side in the car. Obviously, it doesn't get really rusty or anything, so it's good. You know, this is how it's supposed to be. Moves all around, like some of those extensions you have for your socket sets. Now, it only fits in one way. It'll be kind of obvious which way this points. You know, you don't want it to point down towards your feet. You want it to point up towards the steering column. Now, there's a second hole that this gasket will lock into. So you just kind of work your way around, making sure that this stays in the car and this is locking. Like if my finger's the metal on the car, it's supposed to fit in there like this. So this will be outside the car, and this will keep all the dirt and stuff and air coming in the car. And this is just like, I guess, another preventative safety, whatever, keeping the rest of the cold and stuff out. And I believe that all 9.3 steering shafts are, they supersede to the same part number. I believe that's what Goldwing told me. So you will be okay with the steering shafts. This one is smoked. The one in my van, which if you've seen that video, is over here. This, I had the opposite problem. This is loose. If you can see, there's play in this joint. This one is a little stiffer, okay, but this one was really loose. When you turned the wheel, you could see it there, how loose it is. This was not good. You can see that in the Turbo X, there's this little cutout. The cutout fits right. This little cutout fits right there, so you can get your screwdriver or something in there and not screw it up. And then you push it on. And now look, I can steer with like my pointer finger all the way around. No issue.